Thank you, Dr. Kapil.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me on. And I just want to say, Guy, firstly, thank you for hosting this space. I think it's a wonderful thing that you're doing, bringing people together to help educate them and help them, learn to make better trading decisions. I think there's been a lot of good advice given today. There's a few things I want to touch on, but I think one thing I want to share with you, I'll give you my background. I've been in cryptocurrency since 2016 and I've done very well for myself. I've started off as a speculator and actually, maintained a professional life outside of crypto, but also I've developed a very professional life within crypto. I'm actually an advisor to one of the most innovative and cutting edge projects in the crypto space, one that very few know about. But I want to kind of touch on my time as a speculator. And, it's not that I made it and stopped learning. I kept learning and learning and learning even after I succeeded, because it's not just a case of getting lucky, making your money and moving on. It's a case of really trying to understand why these things happen, why these markets work. No matter how successful or unsuccessful you are, the best thing you can do in this space is learn why and how markets work. Now, I'm going to impart you a few things that I think are absolutely essential to anyone listening in this space. The first thing I want all of you guys to do when you get off this space, when you go home, if you're going to do any further reading, is go look up Wyckoff theory. Now, I'll spell that for you. That's Wyckoff, Wyckoff theory. This is the original trading theory. It was put forward by a guy called Wyckoff. And it's an old one. It goes back to 1906. If you do the research, this is absolutely essential to learn if you want to understand the flow, not just of crypto markets, but all markets in general. And broadly speaking, Wyckoff, his big premise is the markets, the trading markets, they're always controlled, and the flow of liquidity and money, they're always controlled by people with more money than you, more money than me, much more money than a lot of people in the world. So the first thing you got to understand is, the flow of liquidity into these markets, the way they rise and they fall, that is all ultimately sculpted by people with a lot more money in their pockets than you and I. And that's simply because the money they have is so vast that they can effectively take control of any market at any time. But the second thing Wyckoff kind of said was, when you understand this premise, that the markets are fundamentally controlled by people who have more money than you, he said, that's fine, except that you don't have power over that. Take a step back and just learn to see how they work. And then he basically stepped back and said, look, how they work, you just divide the market into two phases, the accumulation phase and the distribution phase. Now, I'll tell you straight away, the accumulation phase always happens in the late stages of a bear market. And what's happening in an accumulation phase? Well, in the late stages of a bear market, pretty much everyone who has, in the early stages of a bear market, people are taking profit. In the late stages of a bear market, pretty much everyone who could have taken profit's already done so. Everyone who's going to sell has sold. And the guys who have far more liquidity, and in crypto terms, the liquidity comes from fiat at the end of the day, certainly with respect to Bitcoin and with respect to Ethereum. By the way, I monitor Ethereum USD much more than I monitor BTC USD. And I'll get to a little technique I use if you're a swing trader. But what I'm basically trying to say to you is that in the accumulation phase, that's at the very bottom of a bear market. And that's when the big players, the guys with big money, they're now buying. They're scooping up, and they're doing it in such a way that you won't even notice the spot price of that asset that they're buying up. It's not going to rise. But the one thing you will notice if you look at these markets, every single time, the daily trading volume will spike over a very short period of time. And, we're not just talking like, a small 20% spike or a 30% spike. We're talking 100% spike, 200% spike, 300% spike, 400% spike. The most recent example to me, which really stood out, was actually shortly before the Pepe coin pump. And, I follow the Ethereum USD daily trading volume. Whenever I start looking, I'm in what you would class, I'm not an active trader, but the mindset I apply is very much the one of a swing trader, i.e. I operate on multi-year timeframes, or at the very minimum 6-month timeframes. So, I'm not someone who's ruthlessly trading hundreds of times a day. What I do is I just look at the trend in the daily volume. And going back to Pepe coin, I follow Ethereum USD. One day, it was in the middle of this bear market, and I think Ethereum was about $1,800, and I saw the daily trading volume spike 400%. And I thought, hang on, what the hell is this? It had been sort of slowly drifting up from the bottom of $800, because the lowest point of Ethereum in the current cycle was 800 USD. If you go look at the charts, that's what it is in the current cycle from the all-time high. Bounced off 800 USD and it drifted up into around 1,800. At that point, there was a 400% spike in daily volume, and I thought, oh shit, we're going to go into a bull market for sure. This is going to be the FUSD bull market. This is going to be amazing, incredible. And I was, saying, yeah, get some. I was thinking, this is a good time. And it went up. It went to something like $2,300, $2,500. It actually went from 1,800 and it peaked to about 2,500. But then it just corrected down. But I'll tell you what went up a stupid amount was Pepe coin. And I really clocked what had happened here. It was in retrospect, looking back at the event, I was like, Pepe coin is an ERC20 token. If you're going to get money to pump Pepe coin, you're first going to have to purchase Ethereum, and then you're going to have to convert Ethereum to Pepe coin on Uniswap and other dexes, because that's going to generate the liquidity. There are no direct fiat to Pepe coin exchanges, and it makes the most sense to use the Uniswap and other big dexes and etc. to get Pepe coin to that point of liquidity. Okay, so that's the first thing you can predict. So you can predict when assets are going to spike, because the daily trading volume is going to just shoot right up, but the price is hardly going to move an inch. Okay, and that will be following a prolonged bear trend. And I think that reflects nicely on what the speaker before me said earlier about, we're in the peak of a bull. Suddenly the daily volume is much higher than the market cap. What's going on? It's time to sell. Daily trading volume. Learn that. Learn how Wyckoff theory works, and you're going to be in the clear for most of your longer term time frame activity. Okay, I'm not going to talk about day and intraday trading, but I will talk about longer term stuff. And going back into this, the distribution phase, what happens is at the end of the accumulation phase of a Wyckoff cycle, all the big players have scooped up this asset at dirt cheap prices. And it's an unregulated market. For all intents and purposes, it's still an unregulated market. So whenever I explain crypto to people, why do things go up? I always say, listen, if you happen to find an asset that's worth next to nothing, but you happen to have $1 million or $2 million of real money on standby, and you're on an unregulated exchange, what is to stop you from creating 2 accounts, buying up half or more of the token supply of whatever it is you want to pump, and then just trading it back and forth between these 2 accounts? One of those accounts will hold your 2 million of fiat, the other will hold the token that you're buying, and you're just buying and selling it back and forth, and that's pushing the price up and up and up. And in the meantime, you're using a little bit of your reserve fiat. This is the other part of the game that they don't tell you, is most of the, as someone who works, or as someone who's an advisor on a crypto project, a cutting edge one, I can tell you at one point we utilized a PR team. I can tell you my experience of that and of working with crypto PR is the knowledge that most of the published articles you read about cryptocurrency, or indeed most investment assets, but certainly cryptocurrency, if you're looking at Cointelegraph, CoinDesk, Decrypt, you name whatever crypto publication, I can tell you right now, or whatever influencer, I can tell you right now that there's a good chance that these guys have been paid to push this out, and they've been paid by a PR firm, and the PR firm has been paid behind whoever is pushing this project. I will tell you that is a fact. So as soon as you see tons and tons and tons of hype about an asset that has already spiked a huge amount in volume. That's it. You're not, don't touch it. It's too late, guys. You know, let it cool. Let it cool. Just go back to, well, this is now entering the distribution phase where the guys who've bought up these assets, who've helped raise them to a silly price, who are now co-promoting, who are pushing out articles into the media to say, oh, look, this is the next big thing. This is incredible. This is amazing. Go, you got to buy it because it's going to go up another 300%. You know what? Every time you're buying that, someone on the other side is making a profit. It's those guys who are in the Wyckoff accumulation phase. They're selling it to you at maybe 20% profit, 10%. Sometimes they're lucky, 300, 200. It doesn't matter. They're making money off that. Okay? They're the ones making money off that. And you're the ones who are going to be left holding the bag. And at the end of the day, they have the ability to tell when buy pressure, organic buy pressure, is exhausting, because they're the ones who are controlling the market, because they're usually the ones who hold the majority of the asset, and they're the ones who hold the majority of the fiat. So they can watch, because, you know, they usually can, you can cut deals with exchanges, you can run market makers, you can have liquidity providers, and you can see the activity. If you are controlling most of the flow, you can infer what the rest of the organic activity is. So if you see a drop off, you're going to accelerate your selling, and that's going to trigger the acceleration of the distribution phase. By the way, what I said, when the price starts going up massively, that is already the beginning of a distribution phase in a Wyckoff cycle. Okay, so go look this up, Wyckoff theory. And it's important. It's all tied in to everything that relates to generic crypto cycles. It relates to how, you know, if you look at your low caps and you got $100, pick a low cap shit coin that no one looks around. You know what? Best thing you can do? Don't rank coins by coin market cap. Don't rank coins by the market cap value. Rank them by daily trading volume. And then look at the coins that have a disproportionately high daily trading volume in relation to their overall market cap ranking. Because those are the ones where something interesting is going on. Okay? That's where someone is doing something. Okay? So that's really what I want to say. But following from that, I'm just going to tell you now what I heard about spot trading. Spot on. You know, if you're not experienced in this game, I'm experienced. I'm telling you, I know what I'm doing. I don't do leveraged trading. I can tell you right now, the easiest way to get burned if you don't know what you're doing is leveraged trading. You can accrue debts much bigger than what you'd ever pay off if you're not careful, if you don't have appropriate stop losses. And then the other thing I want to say is that it's not just about spot trading. Let's not forget, you can make money in bear markets. You don't need to do leveraged longs and leveraged shorts to make money in crypto. You don't even need to do spot trading necessarily. There's arbitrage markets. You know, if you look across different exchanges at the same asset, there are always tiny fluctuations. And depending on how much capital you've got, you can make significant returns off that. You know, you can act as a market maker for the lower cap coins if you have sufficient liquidity. And that's basically comes down to reading an order book and going, okay, well, I've now understood Wyckoff theory and a few other bits. I know how to read an order book in a market, and I can now tell if a market is liquid, illiquid, if it's small, if it's large. Is it small enough for me to kind of take over? And what I would say there is, you know, if you are, you know, you can be a market, some of you might be in a position to be market makers. And all you're doing there is you're buying enough of an asset to set a hard buy wall, and you've got enough fiat or counterparty asset on the other side. So it could be BTC to, I don't know, shitcoin X, or it could be USD to shitcoin X. It doesn't really matter. And I hate that term shitcoins. There's some really legitimate projects that unfortunately get that label. But you know, you set the buy wall, you set the sell wall, and you know, trading occurs. And if it happens to hit those boundaries, you're the one who's going to make a profit. So market making can make you money legitimately. Arbitrage trading can make you money legitimately. And the other things are just the last thing I want to say, and this relates to the project that I do. You know, I'm an advisor to the Particl project. We have a KYC privacy focused e-commerce platform that allows anyone to buy and sell real world goods and services online using cryptocurrency. At the moment, you have to use R token, which is a part token, which is a micro cap, which is a liquid coin. It's actually got a market maker running, so it's actually got a decent amount of liquidity and actually relatively low volatility within a certain range at the moment. But what I'm trying to say to you is anyone can be a buyer, anyone can be a seller, and you can do this using cryptocurrency. And the big thing about us is it's KYC free, privacy focused, and there's 0% commissions. We're not like Amazon charging 40% on sales or eBay with 15%. I don't know if those figures are quite up to date, but we don't charge those commissions. So what I'm trying to say to you is if you're a drop shipper, there are ways to make money in this space that don't just involve trading, as in speculative trading. There are options, and they don't necessarily just require airdrop farming. So, if you've liked what you've heard from me, I'm just going to say, give my profile on Twitter a follow, have a browse through, take your time to learn about Particl project and basic swap decks, the stuff that I'm involved with, which is all privacy. And, I just want to thank you for taking the time to listen to me, because, it's a really valuable space. And I'm so glad you've given me an opportunity just to share what I got to say.
And you are welcome, Dr. Capel.